What up, Naughty Steppers? It's time for a live review on the Naughty Step channel. Must die, never say die, misery system, let's go. Here we go, the latest in this string of 2019 Must Die singles, his fourth of this year. Following on from Bliss 2K, Chaos, and Epiphany Rush, three pretty mind-blowing songs, each in their own right, all of which have in some way reminded us what Lee Bates' music is all about and best for. High-octane, predominantly dubstep tunes, explosive, but perhaps most importantly, extremely creative. Some of the ideas and execution I've preferred more than others. I think I'd have to call Chaos my favourite of the lot so far. But more than anything, it seems like Bates is pretty much back in full flow, following what I feel were a few years of mediocrity for him. But I think that's all that needs saying before this live review, my first of Must Die, and I'm excited to see what lies in store here. For those that may not be familiar, a live review is me listening to a track for the first time whilst recording. Kinda like a reaction video, but more about the review and response side of it. So I will be stopping the track at various points in order to give my thoughts while listening. And coming to a couple of concluding thoughts at the end by answering some questions that I've already written for myself. But here we go, Must Die, Misery System, let's do it! Nice to see the artwork following the theme that we've had so far in some way. We've got the characters and also what looks like Must Die at the front there. The bits of red that we've had before. And yeah, the nice drawings, the creepy kind of figures looming in the background there. Hopefully the music lives up to this kind of radioactive, awesome, futuristic, perhaps dystopian vibe that we've got going on here. Lively start. I absolutely love those little trumpet notes that he's got going on there. We've seen them before in Chaos and I absolutely love them. And it's nice to see them playing a role right from the very beginning here. Absolutely love them. Let's start the track again. Interesting. Oh shit! Oh, fuck it out! Oh my word, that was just absolutely mind-blowing. What a whirlwind experience that drop was. I can't even quite get my head around it. There was so much going on. Just different ideas and sounds firing at you from all directions. And all through this screechy, very staple Must Die kind of gleam or medium, if you will. Yeah, I think it was one that was just so uninhibited and free as to just throw itself at you in whatever way it can, or whatever way it could, sorry, little change of tense there. I did find it to be a kind of out of nowhere drop, because that that introduction that we get, kind of hip-hop inspired with the 808s really at the forefront, kind of set the tone in a way that I wasn't expecting that drop to come through at all. I was expecting maybe something of a slower pace, but then suddenly it really picks up in that build, and the percussion is so clean, well cut, really well put together, all of the sounds playing off each other so well. Yeah, I mean, it is just absolutely mad, and it's a reflection actually on how much I'm enjoying it, that I did just get lost in it and kind of let it take me wherever it was going to take me, as opposed to really listening to it and kind of concentrating and analysing on that first listen as to what was happening, what was going where, the ideas that were going on and all of that. So yeah, I think it's a kind of a testament to how much is going on here, kind of how much there is to keep up with, which is a great thing, because, you know, that means there are moments of surprise, elements of contrast, all of that. Yeah, Must Die is delivering on that front, once again, it has to be said. How far through are we? We're over halfway through, to be fair, only a minute and a half left, but I think that does leave time for a midsection, a kind of moment of respite and building things back up before we have what I expect to be another pretty manic second drop. So I think from this point, it's time to keep playing. The juxtaposition or the contrast between these sections, kind of accounting for what we get in the introduction as well, and the drop that we've got so far and what I assume the second drop will be like manic as well, is just crazy. And I think it speaks volumes for how quickly and how effectively, seamlessly, easily he can transition from one completely different thing to another. Oh shit! Oh my god! Fucking hell! Oh shit! Holy shitballs, I'm exhausted. Yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty much more of the same. Maybe not in parts because I'm not sure I remember those kind of guttural sounds being present in the first drop. I could be wrong. I'll have to listen to it again. I was so lost up in that first drop, I can't deny. Had a bit more time and kind of understanding of that first one to appreciate the second one a little bit more and kind of what happens, but that dynamic between the screeches and that do-do-do-do-do-do-do, oh, it's just so good. Giving some solid reflection now though on both drops, I do feel like there are points where the screechiness does get a little bit too much. I know that is his aesthetic, if you will, that screechy, high-pitched delivery, but there are points definitely for me in this song where it gets a little bit too much, quite invasive on the ears, and I don't know, maybe I was listening to it too loudly, but yeah, there were points where I did have to cover my ears just a little bit. But on the other side of that, me knowing that it is his design and his way of doing things makes me enjoy it more. Yeah, I mean, this just seems like Bates is in full flow, really wanting to do his own thing, and I guess he must have had a lot of fun putting this one together. I haven't touched on the midsection all that much because I feel like there isn't that much substance to it. I definitely feel like it plays an important role in Misery's system. You definitely need a little stopgap and moment of respite and regathering between those two absolutely manic drops. But yeah, in terms of that section overall, that sequence, there isn't that much substance to it. Could have been drawn out a bit longer, but then again, I think it does serve its purpose quite well. Just going to give that first drop a quick re-listen with the volume a little bit lower than what I had it before to try and remember some of the stuff that I forgot from that first drop, having listened to it only once so far. That's before I get onto those aforementioned questions that I wrote earlier. Okay, so having listened to that again, I think there is a distinct and clear likeness between the first drop and the second. Yeah, that doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Something I didn't clock at first, but yeah, they are pretty similar. And now moving on to those aforementioned questions that I wrote for myself before listening to this song for the first time. What were your favourite parts of the track? I think as a continuation of what he's provided for us so far this year, the sheer energy and relentlessness and aliveness of this song is what I love about it. What we've got before in Bliss 2K, Chaos Epiphany Rush, that is pretty much his style, his aesthetic, his design to an absolute T, just really taking it to the max. Not something that we get in the introduction and the midsection to an extent, but it's the contrast between those drop sections and that, the introduction in a way not even really preparing us for what we're going to get at all, that I think really works. Also, he gets the force of it absolutely on point, where I think perhaps he hasn't in the past 3 singles. I think he gets the mix of elements, the definition of them, really spot on here. So yeah, in terms of what I thought was my favourite parts about it, that would have to sum it up, everything I've said there. What were your least favourite parts of the track? For me, this one is quite simple. The screechiness is just a bit too much at points, and this for me is where the other 3 that he's released before this year are perhaps a little bit better, a lot more sonic variety, where this one kind of lacks in my opinion. Yeah, it does get a little bit overbearing at points, and I feel like even if you're listening to this song at the normal volume that you would listen to it, the screeches are still going to be quite or too at the forefront in comparison to everything else there. The screeches, yeah, they do play too much of a role in those drop sections, making them a bit too much for me anyway. It'll be different for other people, but yeah, for me, they are a little bit too much. Also, an extent to which I think the midsection could have been a little bit longer to kind of prepare for that second drop a little bit more. But that's a small menial point within the context of the song, because I do actually think it works quite well as a short stopgap between those 2 manic drops. And finally, what do you make of the song overall? It's good. I think it definitely ranks alongside the other 3 in certain ways. I think the aliveness, relentlessness, and sheer kind of energy of it, if you will, really make it quite infectious, perhaps more so than the other 3. I really, really love it for that. And it showcases a lot of what his style's good for, mostly on that kind of brimming with energy front. But I mean, a lot of the sounds that we get here are really, really good, and I think the dynamic between them, even though it does get a bit overbearing at points, really works for it, and it does sum his style up to an absolute T, I think. You can imagine that he did have a lot of fun putting this one together, as I mentioned earlier. However, it does get a little bit too much at points, and I'm not sure that there is enough variety in comparison to that past 3 for this one in particular. So yeah, not quite on the level of Chaos just yet, but I am excited to hear it more and get used to it more, understand the dynamic between all the different sections. So it could get up to that point, that kind of standard, but I'm not sure just yet. But yeah, those are my thoughts overall on Misery System. And so there we have it, the latest live review on the channel of the new track from Must Die, Misery System. I hope you enjoyed it. But what did you guys make of Misery System overall? Do you have any favourite moments from it? Any moments that you yourself would change? Let me know in the comments below. For some other live reviews on the channel, check out the link next to my head somewhere. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.